Hello, welcome. If you saw my last two videos, I was testing the brand new Leica Q3 and also the Leica M11. These are both 60 megapixel premium cameras from Leica, but the question is, which is the right camera for you? After owning and reviewing Leica cameras for over a decade, I thought I'd try and break down the potential target market for each of the two cameras. So let's go through each one in turn, starting with the Leica M11. This is a serious camera and it's not a snapshot camera, so the target market is photographers, as silly as that may sound. I'll explain as we get into the video. 7 reasons to buy the Leica M11. Number 1, buying the Leica M11 means you only buy once, not twice. What do I mean by this? Well, if you buy the Leica Q camera, if you see my Leica Q videos, the Leica Q is normally the gateway to Leica. So you start with the Leica Q because they're normally cheaper, easier to use, things like that. And then you're like, oh, it'd be nice to own a proper Leica camera. And so then you end up buying twice, and then you buy a Leica M camera after buying a Leica Q. So if you want to buy once, buy the Leica M camera in the first place. 2, the Leica M camera is a full manual rangefinder camera. If you don't have experience with rangefinder cameras, I'd say the Leica M11 is suited to those that have the time to slow down or want to slow down when it comes to taking photos. Yes, you can take photos really quickly with rangefinder cameras, but I think for beginners it's going to be a much slower process. Number 3, have you always dreamt of owning an iconic Leica rangefinder camera? The Leica M11 is basically the same experience as a 1950s Leica camera. It just has a digital output instead of a film output. Very similar experience, you're looking through the same kind of viewfinder. You've got the same shutter speed settings on the top, you've still got your aperture on the lens. The only difference is you can change your ISO and you've got a few more mod cons included. Number 4, if you like to shoot with a variety of focal lengths, i.e. you might want one wide angle, one normal and say one telephoto. So you could be using a 28 to 50 and a 90 for example. 5, perhaps you want to have different rendering for different projects or different subjects. I'm a model photographer, so sometimes I might want a softer lens for say a more flattering look, and then other days I might want a very sharp modern lens for a accurate representation of say a building for example. The Leica M camera is a interchangeable lens camera, so you can change your lenses and you're not limited to only one lens. That means you can benefit from both the Leica vintage lenses and the latest apo or spherical lenses. 6, by using a slower camera, Leica M cameras arguably may help improve your photography skills. I think personally when I went from using an autofocus camera to a slower rangefinder camera, my compositions improved almost instantly because you can see both the subject and the distance at the same time with an optical viewfinder. And 7, you want to downsize your kit. Let's say you've got the best of Canon or Nikon or Sony with all the big autofocus lenses and you're just sick of carrying that massive bag of kit all the time. By using a Leica M camera with say a trio of very small rangefinder lenses, it'll be a complete breath of fresh air in terms of the very small bag that you can then take out and walk around with. Okay, next the Leica Q. Now I'll split this into 2 categories. First, the Leica Q3 for the everyday person. Here are 4 reasons you might want to buy the Leica Q3 even if you're not a pro photographer. Number 1, you want a premium autofocus camera that you can carry around everywhere and it takes really great photos. Perhaps think of a digital version of the Contax T2, which became like a cult camera overnight when celebrities started to use that camera. It's kind of does the same thing but gives you a digital output. 2, you like to buy the best of whatever it is that you buy. If you appreciate a nice watch or wearing a nice suit or spending money on a nice pair of shoes, I think the Leica Q3 does the same job in the camera department. It's premium and it's functional. 3, I think the Leica Q3 is going to suit you if you enjoy taking nice pictures, but you have no idea what f-stop and ISO means. 4, you just want a convenient, stylish camera to take great photos of your busy, hectic lifestyle when you're always on the go, but you want to capture those special moments each day. Okay, and now on to Leica Q cameras for photographers, which is probably the majority of you guys watching this video. Number 1, you've already got all the gear and now you just suffer from gear paralysis analysis. You just don't know what camera and what lens to take on what day. I must admit I sometimes suffer from this. But buying a fixed lens premium compact camera, that's going to remove all those troubles and also take a huge weight off your shoulders. Number 2, probably a popular answer, the Leica Q3 is a lot cheaper than a Leica M11 plus Leica Similux 28mm f1.4 lens. 3, I listened to your comments and some of you want a Leica camera that's got a tilt screen. For the simple reason is you're not as mobile as you used to be. By having a tilt screen, you don't need to get down on your knees to get those low shots when you can't get back up again. I'm sure I won't be laughing as much when I get to that stage. If you don't know, the Leica Q3 is the first Leica camera with a tilt screen. The Leica M11 has the standard fixed screen. 4. Some of you want small cameras with image stabilization, and some of you tell me that you wish Leica M cameras had image stabilization. The Leica Q3 has IBIS, and that can be really useful for individual cases. One of my students that came over from America last year had a hand tremor, and so by having image stabilization, that's going to be the difference between great shots and blurry shots in a low light situation. 5. You love Leica M cameras, but your eyesight just isn't as good as it used to be, and you're now struggling to see to focus. My eyesight's not great, and so I do use diopters, but if your eyesight's worse than that and you don't want to wear glasses, the Leica Q3 has got autofocus, so you don't have to struggle with manual focus with Leica M cameras. 6. If you enjoy shooting at close focus distances, let's say you're a food blogger, the Leica Q3 is going to be a much better solution than a Leica M camera, because Leica M cameras are designed to focus from 0.7 meters to infinity. That said, if you use the EVF, you can now get closer focusing lenses. And 7, you're a photographer that also wants the option of video. I just saw a big YouTuber comment on one of his YouTube videos, I've just sold my Leica M11 because it doesn't have video. So if, like me, you have to video as well as take photos, sometimes you need one camera that does both photos and video. The Leica Q3 offers you 8K video, the Leica M11 offers you 0 video. So that's the target to market for each camera as I see it. Have I missed any obvious ones? Let us know in the comment. Are you an M11 kind of guy or girl or Q3 person? The next question you may have is, are the photos identical from the Leica Q3 and the Leica M11 when they both have, some may say, the same 60 megapixel sensor? Now, I didn't have identical lenses on both cameras, but I did do a quick and dirty test when I was in the US, and it's safe to say that the photos are not the same from these two cameras. The Leica M11 files tend to have a more magenta cast. The Leica Q3 files, similar to the other Q cameras, have more of a green cast. If you saw my last video, I took some photos of a Porsche. What I didn't show you were photos shot with the Leica Q3. So these photos are shot with the Leica M11. You'll have to ignore the different focal length and just try and notice the color difference. So these are raw to start off with. These photos are shot with the Leica Q3. Again, DNG, raw, no editing. Now these photos are the Leica M11 with my MrLeica Leica M11 preset pack added. And these are the Leica Q3 files with the MrLeica Leica Q3 preset pack added. As you can see, you can get a pretty similar look in terms of colors from both cameras once you apply a preset, but just note out the box the colors are different. I can put a link to the presets below if you're interested. Before we go any further, I just want to stop the video and say huge thanks to my amazing patrons. I think we're around 240 patrons, and I share additional content to that I show on YouTube. It's a lot of model photography if you're interested in that kind of thing, but also behind the scenes from my various trips. Feel free to check it out. Again, link below. So back to the question, should you get a Leica Q3 or should you get a Leica M11? Now actually I can give you a case study because my student John that I was teaching in the US owns both the M11 and the Q3. And he's like, Matt, which camera should I use? John is not a pro photographer, he's just an average guy with very limited free time each day. For that reason I said use your Leica Q3 on days when you've got very limited time. Let's say you're on a family trip with your kids, or you're on a work trip and you just want to get some snapshots but you don't have time to faff around with aperture settings, shutter speeds and various other things that come with playing around with a fully manual camera. Then on days when you want to try to improve your photography, take the M11 and invest the time to slow down and enjoy the process. So if you're thinking the M11 is for you, I can link an M11 video after this. But what if you're thinking like a Q3? You might then be thinking, would a Leica Q2 be good enough? Or do I need to spend the extra money to get a Leica Q3? Now the good news is, if you hang around until my next video, I'm going to do a Q versus Q2 versus Q3 shootout, like a more technical geeky test. And then after that video, hopefully you'll be in a position to decide whether you need to buy like a Q3 or whether the original Leica Q or the Leica Q2 will be good enough for your needs.